Hi, welcome back. We're excited about what God is doing in our lives, what God is doing at Bethesda, what God is doing in you. You know, this 8-minute challenge, all of this week has been awesome. It's been incredible. We really believe that God is going to honor these efforts. So I want to encourage you today, if you're kind of feeling like maybe you shouldn't continue to do this, or you're kind of questioning why, you're doing this, and, is this really making a difference? I want to encourage you today. It is making a difference. Don't give up. Keep persisting in prayer. Keep calling out to God in prayer. God is listening, and He promises to answer us when we call out to Him. And I actually want to encourage you from Luke chapter 18. There's a parable that Jesus told, and a lot of times it's got a title of the parable of the persistent widow. And it's kind of exactly what I'm talking about today, because now we're a couple of days into this 8-minute challenge. And undoubtedly, some of you are saying, should I continue to do this? And, is this really working? Is this really making any difference? Or I haven't seen anything, or I haven't heard anything. Well, Jesus told a story that relates to that, because He understood what our relationship with Him was going to be like. He understood that we were going to have those times where we were going to question Him. God, are you even listening to me? Is this even working? Is my prayer getting through? And Jesus told this parable. And in this parable, He talked about a lady, a widow, who would go to the house of a judge. And she would even go late at night. And the Bible says that she would knock on his door. She would knock, she would persist, and she would cry out from the outside to the judge. Judge, I need for you to grant me justice against my adversary. I need for you to grant me justice against my enemy. The Bible says, as Jesus was telling this parable, that the judge would kind of ignore her. That the judge would kind of pretend that he wasn't home. You know how you do sometimes when your doorbell rings or somebody knocks, and you tell your entire family to be quiet because you don't want them to know that you're actually there. You want them to believe that you're not there. Well, it's kind of what this judge was doing. He didn't want to answer the door. He didn't want to deal with her. He didn't want to, answer her request. And so he ignored her for a while, for a couple of days. But the Bible says that she would persist in her coming before the judge, and her coming before his house. And she would continue to knock. She would continue to go, and from the outside she would yell, please, judge, have mercy. Give me justice against my adversary. And I want to pick it up at verse 4. This is Luke 18, because as Jesus was telling the story, this is what the judge is doing, kind of ignoring her, kind of not listening to her, not paying attention, and not responding to her. But this is what verse 4 says. It says, for some time he refused, the judge refused. But finally he said to himself, even though I don't fear God or care what people think, yet because this widow keeps bothering me, I will see that she gets justice, so that she won't eventually come and attack me. Verse 6 says, and the Lord said, listen to what the unjust judge says. And will not God bring about justice for His chosen ones who cry out to Him day and night? Will He keep putting them off? I tell you, He will see that they get justice, and quickly. However, when the Son of Man comes, will He find faith on the earth? In other words, Jesus was saying, listen, if this unjust judge, this judge who had no regard for God, had no love for God, if he finally gave in, or if he finally responded to this woman's prayer, to this woman's plea, to her cry, just to basically get her off of his back, he's basically saying, how much more will a loving God, a loving Father, respond to your request? How much more will I be willing to answer you when you call out to me? If an unjust judge, a judge who has no regard for God, can do that for someone just to get this lady off of his back, how much will your loving Father listen to you and respond to your prayer? Listen, when you call out to Him in faith. So I want to encourage you today. May you have to persist sometimes. You have to keep on knocking on the door of heaven through your prayers. You may have to continue to pray about a certain thing. You may have to continue to present a certain need before the Lord. But after all, Jesus invites us to do that. He's saying, listen, you should pray in this way. You should pray as this woman did. That she didn't give up in her prayers, even though it seemed like the answer wasn't coming. It didn't seem like anything was changing. But she persisted in prayer. And I want to encourage you today, maybe that's how you feel today, but persist in your prayer. Keep knocking on heaven's door. Keep going before the Lord in prayer, and trust that He is listening to you, and that in His perfect timing, He's going to respond to your cry and to your prayer. God bless you, and have an awesome time in prayer today.
I made the choice, humble myself.